Welcome to the Leadership Lowdown. This is Vic Verchereau, and you're listening here on the Michigan Business Network. I'm delighted to have in our studio audience, we have with us today Ryan Henry. He's a professional EOS implementer. We're going to figure out what all that is, but welcome, Ryan. We're glad to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm glad you could be here, and I'm glad I learned recently what EOS is and what the whole traction concept is, and it's kind of an exciting program. And for anybody that's looking to build their business and take it to the next level, it's kind of what you guys are all about, isn't that?
That's exactly what we're about. Yeah, EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So a lot of people go, what the heck is EOS? And
right.
That's what it is. It's an operating system for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And of course the issue is and what I think I understand, and you correct me, is that a lot of the EOS concept comes from the idea that people are actually good at what they're doing in terms of building their business, starting their business, and then there comes a time when they want to take it to the next level. And they've got resources, and they've got a lot of headaches, and they've got a lot of things going on, and a lot of things, maybe missions that they're trying to accomplish. But how do they get it to the next spot to really get that kind of success they've always dreamed about?
Yeah, so I'm a third-generation entrepreneur, so entrepreneurship is just something that's in me. And as an entrepreneur or a leader within an entrepreneurial organization, you just have like 136 issues just flying at you all the time. And we always say this in EOS, when everything's important, nothing's important.
Oh, wow, that's good.
So one of the big discoveries, and I was a client of EOS, and now I'm a implementer. Implementer just means I teach it, I coach it, and I facilitate it for entrepreneurs and their leadership team. And what we say is because you feel this. When I say 136 issues, sometimes entrepreneurs go, I got like 1,360 issues.
Sure, yeah,
Are you kidding me? And it's the principle still the same. When everything's important, nothing's important.
Yeah.
So our belief in what we teach and coach and facilitate is strengthening what we call the 6 key components. I'll do those just really quick, and we can dive.
We'll dive deeper. Yeah.
But vision, just where are we going, and how are we going to get there? And the big piece there is that we all agree on it, that we share it. The next is just people, great people sitting in the right seats, like Jim Collins says. We got to get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. And we got to have right people in the right seats. We got to have both. And we got to have some data, just some stuff that gives us a pulse, that we know what's going on in this organization.
Score, right?
Yeah, scorecard. And then issues. And a lot of people go, issues? That's a component? Yeah. We got to solve them. Pull them up by the roots. Make them go away. Then process, just documenting the way that we do what we do, and getting it followed by all. And then the last one, traction. And we always say vision without traction, it's just hallucination. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you're just spinning your wheels.
Yeah, so getting you to have discipline and accountability, those are the 6 key components. And focusing on the 6 key components, those other issues, those 136 or 1,360.
Right, whatever the number is.
Those just go away because they're symptomatic of not being strong in the 6 key components.
Yeah,
of the
and I think and we'll have a little bit of time to go through each one of these, but I think you started with vision, wasn't that the first one?
It's the first one, yeah.
Yeah, and of course vision is kind of an interesting scenario because oftentimes I think, and you can tell me as an entrepreneur, you have that vision, but then as you start gathering resources and people around you, do they share that vision and have you properly communicated it, right? Isn't that a key component?
Yeah, so what we say is that as the leadership team goes, so goes the rest of the company. So one of the first things that we do working with entrepreneurs is to get them in a room, turn their phones off.
Yeah, try that.
Get them out of the business, out of the tall grass, and just answer what we call 8 questions and get them to share it. Because it's not that they don't have vision. Many times it's they have too much vision.
Yeah.
They just don't agree on the vision.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's we call a visionary, right? Like a big idea person, that kind of founder, big relationship person, and they have hair on fire vision. And the leadership team kind of goes, he's crazy or she's nuts.
Yeah.
And we've seen some success, but we don't necessarily always agree. And that crack in their teamness and their unity with vision is something that we fix.
Well, and to your point, that vision is number one in what you're doing, right? So you want to surface some of that confusion and disagreement right at the beginning of working with a team. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, we call it traction first, vision second. But so much so that we're in vision. Let's talk about that. So when it comes to vision, we just need to do 8 questions. What are your core values? And this is who you are. What makes you crazy? What makes you zany?
Right.
And then get those type of people in the organization and get people that aren't like that. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but if they're not crazy like you, you're just not going to like them. They're not going to like you. So we got to hire and fire and lead and manage and hold accountable according to these core values. Next is our core focus. Just why do you exist? Like, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your passion? And then what's your niche?
Right.
And from there, that's who we are. It's kind of our soul. And then we start kind of going, what's the horizon? What are we looking like when we're all kind of grown up?
Yeah, right.
And getting that agreement's the powerful thing. So that's the first 3 questions.
Well, there's some great stuff there. And Ryan, we're so glad you're here in the studio today. We're looking forward to unpacking all of this here on the Leadership Lowdown. You're listening to the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verschero. We'll be right back.
Perfectly managed meetings, carefully planned conferences, and beautiful beginnings. That's what you'll find at Treetops Resort. We have an ideal location just minutes from I-75 and over 25,000 square feet of meeting and convention space. No matter what you're planning, let our spectacular views, spacious lodging, and outstanding customer service show you why Treetops is Michigan's most spectacular resort. Get a no-hassle quote for your next meeting at treetops.com or call at 888-TREETOPS.
Welcome back to the Leadership Lowdown. You're listening to the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verschero, and with us today is Ryan Henry. He's a professional EOS implementer, and of course that stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. I love what I'm hearing so far. It's kind of so important because as I think about your work, you're trying to get people on the same page and to get some things done. And of course, all of what you talk about is traction. And so, but interesting enough, when I said vision was number 1, you said there was something else ahead of that.
Yeah, so we call it traction first, vision second, but let's finish vision. So once we have that values, who we are, what makes us crazy, and our focus, our why we exist and what we do, we get into what we call the 10-year target. That's the horizon. That's what we're chasing. But the only purpose of that is to know where we're going. It's not to measure against. From there, we talk about marketing strategy. Just who is your ideal client? I always say, do you like all of your clients? And my team goes, no, we don't like all of our clients. And I go, well, then why are you working with them?
Yeah.
Because most of the ones that you don't like, they suck your time and your money, and you don't make any really headway with them. Why don't you take all your precious time and resources and money and focus on your ideal client?
Wow.
And then just what's your 3 uniques you're going to tell that client? And do you have a proven process that can get them to understand how you serve them and make them a partner so they know that you really care about them? From there, we take it down to the ground more, and we talk about it as a 3-year picture. Just what is the date? What's it look like? What's our revenue? What's our profit? And a picture, because I don't know about you, but 3 years happens like
just like
that.
Yeah.
Like my 13-year-old the other day is like, Dad, in 3 years, I'm going to be full on driving. And I went, whoa, holy smokes, what happened there?
That's
so
awkward.
3 years in business is really short. What are we going to look like from there? And then driving it down to 1-year goals. What do we got to do this year? And that's where most planning and people that help people plan, or when people are planning, they stop there.
Yeah.
The game changer is we got to drive it down to what we call the 90-day world. And it's less is more based on all that other work that we did. What are the 3 to 7 things we got to do? And that's a Stephen Covey principle for time management. Rocks. We got to put the rocks in first. Once we do that, everything else will still fit in. If we don't put the rocks in, everything else will push out the really big priorities.
All kinds of things.
So getting agreement on the 3 to 7 is really important. A lot of times when we're working with clients, we have them just do an exercise, just individually, 5 minutes, be quiet, write down everything you think we need to get done in 90 days based on all the work we just did. And we'll get, sometimes I've had 55 potential rocks. I mean, like, well, that's not
That's a gravel pit.
That's too much. That's not, I was going to think, can all that get done? They're like, there's no way that all that can get done.
Right.
All right, well, let's agree then. Let's walk out of this room. Let's really be open and honest, because we got to say what needs to be said. What really needs to happen here, less is more.
Yeah.
So getting them to agree on the 3 to 7 is pretty powerful. Last one is just identifying our issues. We can't solve everything. We got bigger fish to fry, but let's identify our issues. Let's just get them out. Let's stand united, agreeing that these are really our issues. So once we do that, we've actually done what we call the vision traction organizer. And crazy thing is, some people go, well, when do we do strategic planning? And I go, we just did.
Wow. Yeah.
2 pages, strategic planning, who we are, where we're going, all the way down to the next 90 days. What do we have to do? So no more 30-page planning, just 2 pages.
And isn't that refreshing, right?
It's easy. You don't remember the 30 pages anyways.
Well, and of course, the other
nobody
thing is
remembers that stuff.
You're so close to the what do they say? You're so close to the trees you can't see the forest, or the vice versa.
Yeah.
The point is that you've got your head down so close to your strategic plan that when you step back and go, oh yeah, I guess that is our plan, isn't it? So
yeah.
I love the idea that you've got some priorities and some other things that you do along the way. And so this process that you coach and that you are available to be hired professionally to help organizations with, this isn't something you came up with on your own. This is a worldwide movement, right?
That's correct. There's 300 of me, professional EOS implementers around the world. We've worked with over 7,000 companies. There's about 30,000 that we've helped implement, put this system in place in their businesses across all different types of businesses. There's not a specific type of business that we work with.
I think that's important to stand on that for a second.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that, look, it's not, oh, well, it always works well with manufacturing.
No,
that's not what you're saying.
Yeah, so we're not consultants. We don't tell people what to do. We're not answer men or women. What we do is we help entrepreneurs and their leadership teams, and then the whole organization. But we help the entrepreneur and their leadership team implement this system, this way of doing what they do. Right. And we always say, this isn't a seminar. This isn't some ideas. Nope. This is a new operating system. This is a whole new way of life. And we help implement that into their business. So I have doctor's offices, real estate companies, and construction companies, and you name it.
All over the board. Yeah.
All over the board.
Got to be fascinating work for you because you're meeting new people doing different things all the time.
It's entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably part of one of the brilliance of what Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS, created, who's also a guy from the Magic Mitten, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Very
that's what's
cool.
fun about it.
Really good stuff. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for sharing. And we've got more information we're going to unpack here as we go on the Leadership Lowdown. Thanks for tuning in to the Michigan Business Network. This is Vic Verchereau, and we'll be right back in a minute.
MichBio, the Michigan Biosciences Industry Association, is the state's premier trade organization representing the agrobiotech, medical device, pharmaceutical, research and testing, health IT, and distribution sectors. Since 1993, MichBio has been providing its members unparalleled access to advocacy, industry events, partnering, business savings, and intelligence. MichBio, driving bioindustry growth in Michigan. Learn more at michbio.org.
Welcome back to the Leadership Lowdown. This is the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verchereau, and in studio today is Ryan Henry. He is a professional EOS implementer. And Ryan, earlier in the first segment, you said something that kind of snapped my head. Third generation entrepreneur, and I just love that. So it must mean that it's a DNA thing with you. It's in your blood. Tell me a little bit about some of your people that have inspired you along the way.
Well, I'm third generation on my father's side, and there's entrepreneurship on my mother's side as well. So,
really?
Yeah, my mother's father was an entrepreneur, and my father's father was an entrepreneur. And both my mother and father have done entrepreneurial things collectively together, and then both independently. So entrepreneurship for me wasn't something that was like, Ryan, we're going to sit you down today, and we're going to teach you about entrepreneurship.
We're going to have to talk.
It was more kind of like it was stuff that were things in the business were thrown at me.
Yeah,
like go
right.
mow this lawn, or
Yeah.
go collect this bill, or
'Cause that's what
go
what
drive up
entrepreneurs
to
do.
this
They do it
store.
all.
Yeah, to start doing stuff. So I saw the good and the bad and the ugly and the you name it. So entrepreneurs out there, that pain that you feel, that stuff that keeps you up at night, those fights, when you're trying to have vacation, those talks, those emails when you're trying to take a break, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know it both as a kid,
Yeah.
and I know it as an entrepreneur myself because I started my own business at the age of 26. So, yeah, third generation, been there my whole life, actually.
So help me with
That's all
that
I
a little
know.
bit. Hey, I think about entrepreneurs, and you've known a number of them.
Yeah.
Many of them relatives, but
that's right.
you've known a number of them. What are, in your mind, the common threads that are running through those folks? Is it their contempt for wanting to work for anybody, their independence, their fierce independence?
Yeah, that's interesting. Sometimes it's circumstances. Like my grandfather just wanted to do stuff on my dad's side and took over a shoe store, and then some business people in the community, some older guys came up to him and asked him if he wanted to be part of getting into a lumber yard. And
Oh, wow. Shoes to lumber, huh?
it was an opportunity. And he was like, sure, let's do it. I think there is that willingness to have faith in themselves, and I always spell faith RISK. So there has to be this willingness to just take the risk. Like I love what Steve Harvey says: you got to be willing to jump.
Yeah.
Because it's just an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter what industry they're in. The ones that jump in life. So if you see a kid that's taking those types of risks and just doing stuff, like they see a problem and they figure out how to fix it, and sometimes there's an angst. There's definitely a profile that you can see within entrepreneurs.
Well, the risk thing, I think, is really intriguing to me because I'm kind of risk adverse. I don't enjoy risk. Money comes really hard to me, and so the whole point is I want to keep what I get, and so I look at
We
other
do as
people.
well.
Yeah, right. Just you're willing to take a little more gamble.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the whole point. Is that you've got to be willing to risk it. And how many millionaires do they tell the story that have truly gone broke several times along the way, and just because they were willing to look at something new and retrench like that. So that risk has got to be a common thread in there. Careless risk is probably different, right? You want to be
you
less
see
than
that
careless.
as well. You do see careless risk for sure, and I have run into them in my entrepreneurial life, and I still run into them now in my practice as an implementer. And when it comes to that, I think the thread I see, my clients that I see that really want to do EOS, is that they walk with a limp. They've been through the battle. I was in the Marine Corps, right? Like they've seen things that they don't want to see again.
Yeah.
And they know that there's a better life. Sometimes it feels a little elusive to them, but they're willing to learn. So the big difference, I think, the big change in an entrepreneur's life is not feeling like you have all the answers. I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, and I was there as well, where they're like, I know, I just know.
Yeah, I got this.
Yeah, and I think it's a both and.
Yeah.
You do, but you also need to put yourself in a place of learning.
Yeah.
So an entrepreneur that's willing to learn, that's really where it changes.
Yeah, that can be life-changing right there, as opposed to the guy that says, here, hold my beer, right? I mean,
Yeah,
next
the
thing you know,
Marlboro
you got
Man, right? Like the independent, no one with them.
Yeah.
We need each other, and that's hard. I call that head trash, like to ask for help.
Well, don't you think by definition, entrepreneurs are independent loners in some regard?
Yeah,
right?
it is. And I think there's a sense of running from failure and sometimes an admission that people need help.
Yeah.
So a lot of clients that I work with, they've experienced failure. Some entrepreneurs, like myself, have experienced failure and just kept on keeping on.
Right.
But they've hit a ceiling. They need to break through. Like they can't sustain this.
Yeah. And in so many ways, what I understand about EOS, that's exactly what it helps do, is help everybody break through. Well, we're breaking through with all kinds of great news today and information. Thanks, Ryan, for being here with us on the Leadership Lowdown. We're so glad that you've tuned in to the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verchereau. We'll be right back.
Michigan. The attorneys of Foster Swift, Collins & Smith offer legal counsel to businesses, families, individuals, and municipalities throughout Michigan, with offices in Lansing, Farmington Hills, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Marquette, and Holland. Clients know they can count on Foster Swift for all their legal needs, from straightforward wills to sophisticated business transactions and complex litigation. Learn more about Foster Swift and how they can assist you at fosterswift.com.
You've tuned in to the Michigan Business Network. This is the Leadership Lowdown. I'm Vic Verchereau, and with us today is Ryan Henry, professional EOS implementer. And in our last segment, we talked about an entrepreneur, but I think the next logical discussion is that entrepreneur oftentimes is a lone soldier kind of marching to his own drum or her own drum. And I just wonder, at what point in time does that person need a mentor, does need some help? How do they find that? Are there some clues?
Yeah, I've come to the belief that an entrepreneur needs three things in their life. First, they need a peer group, just a group they can go to. It could be per their industry. It doesn't have to be. It could be just other entrepreneurs. Just a cadence, maybe monthly or bi-monthly or even quarterly, where they just go and they can say anything that needs to be said. They can talk open and honest. Just a peer group, just a place to go. Secondly, I think an entrepreneur needs a coach. Now, a lot of people go, well, you're a coach. And I go, I am, but it's different. What I'm talking about here is a coach for their life, for them being a better person, an entrepreneurial person, an entrepreneurial leader. My coach, well, I have to eat my own dog food, right? Like,
right,
I believe that.
That's fair.
My peer group is other EOS implementers. We meet quarterly, and we meet monthly, and we talk weekly, open and honest. My coach is Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach.
Whoa.
Dan's a great friend and person that we work with very closely in EOS. So Dan's my coach. And then an entrepreneur needs a operating system, right? So EOS is a operating system.
Right.
So when it comes to coaching that, I help entrepreneurs and their teams implement this system. So three things an entrepreneur needs. They got to have a peer group, just a place they can go.
Right.
They got to have a coach to help them be a better entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs are very misunderstood. So just a place that can help them be better as an entrepreneur. And then an operating system so they can run a better business and, like I always say, have a better life. Because isn't that why you did this? Isn't that why you're an entrepreneur?
Isn't that what that's all about?
You wanted a better life, right?
Exactly.
So
right.
those are the three things I believe an entrepreneur needs.
Well, what I was wondering about as you were speaking, somebody that I'm quite fond of. We had him in here on the show here a little while ago, Rob Elliott. We talked about the fact that the mother of all learning is self-awareness. And I think I think that's really intriguing to me, because if you think you got this and you think you know it all and you think there's nothing more here to see, it creates, I believe, blind spots for you. And
for sure.
And I think that one of the challenges that we get into is that I think entrepreneurs that I've met have a bit of a swagger to them, right?
For sure.
And
Absolutely.
So that swagger is can be confidence, can be a lot of things, I guess. But with that in mind, I feel that that's a potential blind spot for them, is taking their guard down a little bit and being vulnerable enough to say, I'd like to have some another sense of thinking on this.
Yeah, I think I just can speak to myself. I think when I started, I didn't want to get help from others. Part of me did. I just didn't know how to ask. I didn't know where to go. And then I started recognizing, I wanted to be great, right? That was my vision. And I think that's for a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to be great. Sometimes they don't totally know what that looks like, but they do. They want to be great. And what I started realizing was it was like all these great sports people and other leaders, like they had people around them to help them get better and coach them and teach them. And I think once you can put the guard down and go, oh, this is totally okay. This is actually normal. The greatest leaders and business people and, bring it full circle, entrepreneurs have people speaking into their lives, have times where they pull out of their business to build up themselves, build up their team.
Well, I have to ask you a question because what's interesting to me is I remember on the playground, and as a playground child, you'd walk over to some guy, another little boy, and you'd say, "Hey, do you want to be my friend?" And I think that's an awkward moment, right?
Sure.
It's just not generally the way that works.
Right.
And I think the same thing is true in mentorship. Because I think there's a number of people tuning in today that are going, I could really use what you just described, but how do I get that? Where do I find that kind of scenario?
Well, so I always say this to entrepreneurs. I'm like, you are the riskiest taking people on planet Earth, but you're so unwilling to take a risk on yourself. So just use that same risk taking that you take to make that phone call, right? To make that big sale, to break down that door, to get past that gatekeeper, to get in front of that CEO that you want to meet. Take that same risk on yourself. And just reach out.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
And your idea is let's have coffee, right? Is that what you're saying? I'm going to call a Dan Sullivan and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I just need 15 minutes of your time.
Yeah. So when we talk, we always just say it's just a phone call. Let's just talk for like 5 to 15 minutes. Let's just see if there's something that makes sense that we should get together and spend 90 minutes together just talking about what EOS is.
Right.
But as far as just reaching out, just take that risk. You know how to do it. It's not that you know how to do it.
Right. Great point.
What are you waiting for?
And it's not like you're going to slam your hands in the door. I mean, the worst they say is no. I'm not going to answer your call.
So we always say in EOS, we help first.
Yeah.
So rather than make them a client, our goal is to get them help.
Yeah.
So if they need help right now, maybe they're not ready. Maybe financially they're in a bad place, and this isn't there. Although I always say you make bets on yourself all the time. Why aren't you investing in yourself? Right?
I love that. Well, there's so many great bets that you've made today. Just joining us today, we thank you so much for your wisdom and insight, Ryan. You're listening right now to the Michigan Business Network. This is the Leadership Lowdown. I'm Vic Verchereau, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, my name is Tico Duckett with Duckett Brothers Distributing. If you're ever in need of janitorial supplies and services, give us a call, 517-487-6500. We never drop the ball.
Welcome back to Leadership Lowdown. You're listening to the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verchereau, and again, we have in our studio today Ryan Henry. He's a professional EOS implementer, and I can take notes and listen to Ryan all day long. I'm so glad you're sharing this with us. And of course, the thing that I think that in your world that is so important to you is a book that's sitting over there called Traction. And I think that's really been a directive of your life a little bit in terms of the last several months, years of what you're doing here with EOS. And of course,
Absolutely.
Getting traction in a company, there's some critical components to that. And so unpack some of that for us.
Yeah, so just keeping it really simple. When we talk about traction, we're talking about two things: discipline and accountability. So in many entrepreneurial companies, there's a lack of discipline and a lack of accountability. Let's just label the bus, right? Like, okay, yeah, it's probably true. So, hey, entrepreneur out there, it's true. Let's just be real. So when it comes to that, there's two things that we do with teams to help them become more disciplined and accountable. The first, and we've mentioned this in the beginning in the vision component, which we call ROCKS, or living in what we call the 90-day world.
Yeah.
So I always look at teams and go, I am going to beg you, plead with you, because you have to do this. I can't do it for you, but that you will forever live in what we call the 90-day world.
Yeah.
When my work is done and you're 80% strong or better in these components and someone else is facilitating your meetings on your team, my work is done, but you're not going to stop. Like forever, you're going to live in this 90-day world of just pulling up out of the business, getting on the same page as a leadership team, agreeing to our vision traction organizer questions, and then nailing down all of our issues, solving the biggest ones, 3 to 7. What do we got to get done in 90 days?
Yeah.
And then this is where the rubber meets the road. showing back up in front of the entire organization, presenting this united front, and driving those same 3 to 7 biggest priorities, the rocks, into every single person in the organization.
Yeah.
So like that old Western Michigan coach used to say, we're going to row the boat together.
Right.
This is where we make big change.
Yeah.
Everybody in the organization fulfilling what the biggest priorities are. One, they know what they are. Secondly, they're actually doing it. They're participating in it, and they're held accountable for it. So we say, well, how are you held accountable if we're only going to look at it every 90 days? Well, that's the next tool. It's meetings. Everybody goes, oh, meetings. Meetings are horrible. I hate meetings. Well, yeah, you probably do, because you don't know many times what you're walking into when you have a meeting. You don't know why you're there sometimes.
Or how long it's going to last.
How long it's going to last. And sometimes you walk out going, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Do they really think I'm going to get that done? When am I going to get that done? So we flipped the script on meetings. We call them level 10. That's a 10 rating. Like, that was the best meeting ever.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Most meetings are about a 1 to a 3.
Yeah, or negative.
We always say negative. It's either a 1, like that was horrible, I don't ever want to see you in my entire life, kind of thing. So it's same time, same place, same agenda. Arrive early, you're ready. Leadership team, it's 90 minutes. So say it's at Mondays at 9. It's 9 to 10:30. We review our scorecard, that 5 to 15 most important things. If they're on track, great. If they're off, we drop them down to our issues list. We look at our rocks. Are you on track, Vic, for your rocks or not? If you're not, drops down to the issues. If you're on, we keep moving.
Yeah.
Customer employee headlines, just big important stuff we should hear. Like if we were a trucking company and 2 of the trucks fell off the road.
Yep, right.
That's
in the middle of a lawsuit.
That's a headline.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we should know about that. Or he landed a big job.
Right.
We should know about that. Then just to-dos. What are we supposed to get done? Make sure they got done. If they didn't, we drop them down. And we spend the bulk of our time, we call it IDSing, identifying the issue, discussing it, and solving it, making it go away forever, pulling it up by the roots.
Yeah.
No more lawn mowing issues in the organization.
Right.
Because our ability to succeed and hit our vision is in direct correlation to our ability to solve our issues, make them go away forever.
Well, let me
Conclude, rate,
Yeah.
make sure it's a 10, be done.
And the meeting's done.
10:30, it's done.
So I want to ask you: are we tossing overboard all the other meetings?
Yes.
So we're rooting through the org. This is fundamental change to what we.
So every organization, ultimately, when EOS is fully implemented in the organization, every person will be on a team in a level 10 meeting, all making sure they're looking at the biggest priorities, handling them, and solving their issues.
Wow, talk about clarity. Right? I mean, is that
a game changer?
That's one of the biggest paydays of this whole thing.
Absolutely.
Is the clarity throughout the organization.
That's right.
We used to have in a former life of mine, we used to have a question on a employee survey: do I know what's expected of me at work?
That's right.
Right? I mean,
good.
and so
Yeah.
those and I was stunned at how low that was.
Yeah.
So I was in a corporate leadership role,
Yeah.
and looking back over the organization, I'm thinking, how do you cash a check if you don't know what's supposed to be done
It's crazy.
at work? I mean, have a conversation with somebody. But again, I get it. Everybody's got their own thing going on and worried about talking to their supervisor about what am I supposed to do, and so those are game changers.
Yeah, the big difference is, entrepreneurs, that you think you're the magic. You think you have to talk to everybody,
Yeah.
and you just can't anymore. If you've
Right.
grown, you got 10 people or 30 people, you just can't talk to everybody like you used to.
So it's the whole notion. If it's going really, if you've succeeded and done really well, you got to change what you're doing. Is what you're telling me.
Well, entrepreneur, if you do this, you've created a self-managing company. You can actually go on vacation and have a good time.
I love that. Well, I'm having a good time here with you, Ryan. Thanks so much for being here. We have one last segment coming at you here on the Michigan Business Network. This is the Leadership Lowdown. I'm Vic Verchereau, and stay tuned after these messages.
For 60 years, Delta Dental has been helping Michigan smile across the miles and across generations. As the largest dental benefits administrator in the state, we've helped a lot of good people. And this past year alone, we invested nearly $3 million to improve lives in our communities. So to every family we've come to know, to every dentist we've grown with, we'd like to say thank you. Thank you for 60 years of smiles. Delta Dental of Michigan.
Welcome back to Leadership Lowdown here on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Vic Verchereau, and I'm having a great time talking to Ryan Henry, a professional EOS implementer. And I have to just stop for a second. All this stuff that you've unpacked for us has been really interesting to me, and I think anybody that would come across your path, it's got to be game changer for them. But what's the biggest thing, your takeaway once you got involved with EOS?
Well, all of this stuff is wildly transformative for a company. For me, the thing that grabbed me was this concept that we teach in what we call an accountability chart. In that then at the helm of a leadership team is two very distinct individuals. Not all the time, but predominantly amount of the time. And the first is what we call the integrator. And the integrator is the glue, the drumbeat, the steady eddy, the one that holds the three major functions of the organization together: sales and marketing, operations, finance and admin. They keep the cadence. They're there holding that discipline and accountability. And then they labeled this other seat in the leadership team called visionary. And a visionary is wildly different than an integrator. A visionary is the big idea person.
Yeah.
They show up to meetings with 20 ideas. They think 5 of them should happen now. 19 of them probably horrible.
Right.
But one of them, even though you might not totally understand it, one of them is probably it could change your life.
Could be a gem,
So we
yeah.
need to listen to them. They're great at R&D. They're great at culture. They're great at big relationships. They love doing big sales. They have no problem getting pushed out in front of crowds and being the face. But when it comes to being integrator, they're not really good at it.
They don't want to down the details.
They have
right?
shiny object syndrome, like the movie Up, like squirrel. Like,
Yeah, right, squirrel.
like a new idea all the time. So recognizing who you are, a lot of visionaries have been sitting in integrator roles, and they're frustrated. They can't. They don't want to do that anymore. And the EOS says, "Don't be who you are."
Right.
And that was like such a, just a relief for me. Like, oh, I guess I'm not as crazy as everybody thought I was.
Yeah.
And we celebrate visionaries. Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Elon Musk.
Right.
What we don't recognize is that they're in every small business almost throughout the world.
And it's a very important role.
It's
something
vitally
that's critical.
important.
Yeah.
But when a visionary is sitting in any other chair outside the visionary,
Messy.
it's chaos.
Yeah.
90-day spikes.
Right.
Many times they can get really mean.
Oh,
Because they're
yeah.
just not good at keeping team cohesion.
Well, and so tell me about that visionary. Is they have to kind of communicate that, and if they're in that integrator chair, they're probably not communicating well. They're just
No.
blasting
Many times
it
they're
out
not
there.
really good at communicating.
Right.
They think people understand what they're saying, and we always say many times they hear the music, but to everybody else it just sounds like noise.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's clear to them, but not to everybody else.
Yeah.
So the powerful thing with putting an integrator person in there holding that leadership team accountable is that not only does the integrator hold the major functions of the business together and accountable, but the integrator, you got it, integrates the vision.
Yeah.
So we set up a special cadence for the visionary and integrator to meet. It's just once a month to get on the same page. And the visionary just gets to say anything and everything that's on his or her mind, and the integrator integrates it. And always kind of tongue-in-cheek say, the response the integrator is giving the visionary is either, what did you say? No way. You can't do that. I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I wrote it down, so it might be, might be come back. The second one of, that's a really good idea, but it's not a rock right now. We'll talk about it in our next 90-day meeting.
Right.
And the next is, I had no idea. I didn't see that. I had a total blind spot. Batman, red phone kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge insight. We should do something about that right now. So that kind of relationship is game changer for you entrepreneur that sees themselves in that kind of visionary, If you're a visionary, you're a visionary when I say it.
Yeah,
And
'cause you describe-
and I always say, and you need an integrator.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Understand where those limits are.
Yeah.
Well, and your point is that things can get pretty messy, and I think that's, as I think about this whole EOS and the book traction and all of that they talk about, I think that's really what it's all about: is taking people that are visionaries and wildly successful and fantastic people, and all of a sudden giving them a chance, a real shot at breaking through into some blue sky where they can realize some growth that they never even dreamed was possible. So if I'm that guy, how do I get in touch with you? How does that work?
Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of me is just to reach out to me. You can send me an email at ryan@griptraction.com. My business name is Grip Business Traction. You can go to my website, www.
I can find you on LinkedIn. I think you and I connected there.
You can go on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the stuff.
Yeah.
My cell phone's right on the website. It's 517-896-2552. Send me a text. You can just send me a text. I'm a visionary, and I'll know exactly what we need to talk about.
Well, and the only other thing I would say real quick is that implementers can only take on so many accounts at any given time to give them fair work.
Right.
You've got room to have a few more accounts.
I do have room to take on more, but you are correct. Yeah, we work with a limited amount of people because we're coming in and helping them implement it.
To your point, it's not an event. It's truly a process that you're implementing.
Yeah, we work with them in sessions, so it's every 90 days. It's not like I show up to their office every day. That's not. No, we give them the ability to run their businesses. But that's how it works.
I'm just so grateful, Ryan, that you took time to be with us today. I think you offer such a great thing and such an opportunity to people that have a vision but don't have a clue sometimes on how to get to that next level. And I just know this is one of the best systems I've ever seen. Thanks for tuning in here to Leadership Lowdown. We'll be back next time. This is Vic vs. Rowe.